We've become bored with watching actors give us phony emotions. While the world he inhabits is, in some respects, counterfeit, there's nothing fake. No scripts, no cue cards. It isn't always Shakespeare, but it's genuine. It's a life.
1.7 billion were there for his birth. 220 countries tuned in for his first step. The world stood still for that stolen kiss. An entire human life recorded on an intricate network of hidden cameras and broadcast live 7 days a week to an audience around the globe.
It's a real one block video. I'm Budget Monk and welcome back to the only forever world on YouTube where every single block has been placed by a human hand. If I'm being entirely honest, my world is essentially one big wooden plank in the sky. And if we harken back all the way to where I actually obtained moss for the first time from a wandering trader and gained access to the azalea trees, that is when I put up a bunch of azaleas around the perimeter of my sort of world to give a semblance of something more than just a boring horizon going on. And I actually really like the results, but we've come a long way and I've been desiring something much more than that. And I figured what I would really like is some terrain off in the background, namely a mountain, some elevation. There's a couple issues, however. The only dirt that I have access to in my world, which is very precious, it's essentially how many moss I've acquired from wandering traders. You can also get dirt from Podzol. However, in my entire duration, like 1500 days in my world, I've never found a trader with Podzol. What I do have, however, is a mushroom, as I've acquired mushrooms from wandering traders previously, and right here is a mushroom if you didn't catch that in a previous video. By utilizing Silk Touch, I'm able to harvest the mushroom blocks, and I figured they do have the same kind of color palette as dirt. How would it actually look if that was what the terrain was composed of? And so begins a bit of a cutting mushrooms montage, guys. I went through my diamond pickaxe with Silk Touch and Unbreaking a couple times. I needed to repair it over on my anvil. I ended up having just about 4 chests full of mushroom blocks, which took hours upon hours of harvesting, by the way, despite it feeling pretty fast and efficient overall because you cut the blocks so quickly. It did take absolutely ages. And as it turns out, it actually wasn't enough. I did have to harvest more blocks, and I actually ended up using snow blocks in the build as well. So I would estimate actually about 5 full chests of blocks were utilized here. Alright, here we are. This is where I want the mountain to be. Now, this is mainly an aesthetic thing, of course. It's about the looks, guys. I'm really interested. I want to do a project like this, but there's actually other reasons I'm doing this. Number one is that I need water, which is at a high elevation, because I'm technically so low down on the y-axis that any squid that potentially spawn, like over in my mob farmer, they are actually glow squid. And I'd really like to access Squid so that I can basically get black dye ink and also trade with the librarians and that sort of thing, just a little bonus. So I do want a little project up there, but also this is, of course, is our little sort of creek, which I just added in an addition off screen, basically. I just felt like adding it in, but I didn't make it as a dedicated part of one of my videos, unlike, of course, the lagoon. So initially, I built the lagoon. That's where we could initially sort of do some fishing, and I got my fishermen over there, and I thought it would be cool to basically join it up or have a water source, so to speak, a water source. And where would that water come from? Well, it could come from a higher elevation, especially because we're in a colder biome. It's going to be snow-capped. So I thought, like, you know, it would add some kind of quaint niceness to the world, having water trickle down. So that's kind of a lesser project and part of the reasons why we're going to be doing it here. Otherwise, I've got my inventory full of mushroom blocks. Let's try not to fall off here, and we're going to get right into things. Now, if I'm not mistaken, guys, there's actually a 9x6. That is how many, which is 54 spaces there are inside of a chest. And each space was actually composed of a stack of 64. That means a chest can hold 3,456 blocks with inside it. If we multiply, granted it's slightly rough, but if I multiply that by 5 chests, That is over 17,000 blocks utilized in this build. So it was a big job. So after making some good progress, I realized that what I was building was beginning to look like a glorified ramp, and it needed more work on the side. So as you can see here, I kind of was doing the same thing again, but back inlaid further behind on each flank of the mountain. And then what I proceeded to do is basically link them up. The lower down the mountain, the more space I was willing to have, as you know, it shouldn't be so steep. And with that being said, I also realized that the flat areas down here could be filled with the mushroom stalk, or eventually this is where I use my snow blocks on the flat areas, as they're kind of internal, and being a snowy biome, it is going to be covered in a snow layer, so you're not going to be able to ultimately see these blocks. With that being said, guys, it is apparent that this is a facade. You know, I'm not going to lie. It's kind of like an extreme version of when you're, you know, trying to do terraforming, you just cover an area up. As if I was to actually use a block in every single area at this scale, it would probably literally take like 1,000,000 blocks, and much longer than a week of like hardcore grinding that this took, about 10 days. This is about the size of the mountain and what it looked like when I decided it was something that would be good to help me was to build a temporary version of the squid thing, like a water level up high, to give me something to look at, aim towards, build towards, to give me a semblance of how high the mountain was actually going to be. So I made my way up and I started working on that. The issue that we need to overcome is that the cold biome freezes water. So if I have water like this just standing still, it actually freezes. But what I've learned, which I hope is accurate, is that it freezes from the outside going in. So this is a 2x2 space. So each one of these is considered the outside of the water as a body. And each one of these could actually turn into ice. Now, if we reset this, the thing is that waterlogged blocks, guys, cannot turn into ice. And by doing it this way, as an example, this is the principle. Now going in here, these are not considered outside blocks of the base of water. They're not the outside because this is outside, but this cannot freeze. So this is the basic principle. Anytime I'm walking in cold biomes and I don't want to cover it completely, this is basically the other option, is to make like a lake via this method. And this is the principle that we're going to apply to our squid farm. So there it is. This is sort of the temporary scuffed version that I made, and giving me something to aim towards when down below, of course, and I really found it helpful after all. Now, I will remind you guys that I myself did not have any idea how this would actually turn out in a grand scale using the mushroom blocks, and I was very skeptical at first until I had built a decent size and it actually snowed. The first time it snowed, I realized how much that was going to help out the overall look, having the snow layer everywhere, just like you're used to in, you know, the outer terrain around the snow biome. Obviously, I lack the grass that would normally be there in other biomes. So as you guys know, I am not the biggest fan of the snow, but it's beginning to have a comeback and really win me over because this is awesome. So I actually have days worth of footage, guys, most of which you'll never see here, as I just built my way slowly but surely higher and higher at a steeper incline, I suppose, going up 2 and 3 blocks at a time. Eventually, I reached a stage where from down below, the goal actually looked really close, or in some cases, actually touching what I had built up to, because what I had constructed was actually in front of that goal that I was looking for. So I eventually did a sort of a bit of a cop-out as I came so close, and I just built up a basic steps at a 45-degree angle, and then I went ahead and started to flesh that out. So I decided to also bridge out with basically the aqueduct. If you guys remember the aqueduct, the primitive version here, and put down some water and it would freeze for transportation out here. So initially the aqueduct was to serve multiple purposes, one of which was transportation, but the fact is I really don't have that many places to go, guys. So this is going to kind of be one end of the transportation area, and I will in the future basically set up like a booth here to have boats and stuff to zip around really nice and quickly. Lay down some water, of course, which turns into ice, and notice that the ice is freezing from the outside in, just as I was talking about earlier. So up top of the mountain here, guys, I'm creating the catch for what will be water columns coming down. And the gates, I put them down, and when they're opened up, they behave just like signposts where you can actually walk through them freely. There's no collision, but they will actually catch the water. So the goal is to have water columns where the squids will potentially just fall out of the columns. And up top here, where the water source will be coming from, I went ahead and waterlogged all of these steps, whereas the various blocks that were actually open have flowing water down where they're surrounded by water which cannot freeze, and that's the beginning of the columns where hopefully we'll get some squid spawning, as the altitude is perfect for squid spawns. So this is a glimpse at how it looks from below. Perfect. That level is appropriate for squids to spawn, and they fall out into nowhere. The next step is to create a platform, basically a catch, using hoppers to accumulate all of the little goodies that they drop. So the final build works like a charm, guys. Somehow, I even got a fish. How does that work? A fish able to spawn in there? But if I could passively get some food as a bonus, that's cool. And it's been a long time waiting for obtaining some ink sacs. I've got my banners ready to go to fix up the banner of the Beanie Babies, and we can do trading with the librarians. Here we are in the sheep shack, and we're gonna go ahead and make, if I can remember how to do it, I think I can, our banner for the Beanie Babies. So we got a white banner with a outline there of yellow, and then I think I do, let's see, this one, no, we do the stripes, if I can find it. Nice. This one and that one, and that's like the eyes of the bee. I think it looks cool. Then we do yellow. Yeah, just like that. Boom. There it is. You can't do any more. Snowball 2, that is the name suggestion that we're going with, guys. A Simpsons reference, Snowball 2, very fitting. I used to be a big Simpsons fan back in the day, and I appreciate those suggestions. Thank you so much. I did do a little bit of tweaking around here, just some nice storage on the opposite side of where the gate is, and I did actually reposition the sort of the entrance access to this little altar in order to farm the snowballs to the other side. Otherwise, we're going to be taking suggestions for the mountain itself, guys, but only epic suggestions only. So, hint, hint, Mount Olympiad. Wow, what a good suggestion. Thank you, guys. As you guys probably saw, the trees in the background there, I repurposed my planting plots where I grow my wheat and stuff over to plant some trees on the mountain, mostly around the base, and it made a dramatic improvement in my mind. It's those things that you would naturally see which really help the build sort of come together in my mind. So I did make a little pathway up the mountain, mainly for accessibility, but this is what I'm going to call the pilgrimage when we go up, ascend the mountain. Make sure to like and ring the notification bell of this video, or you will have to make the pilgrimage every day except barefooted. Now, you wouldn't want to do that, would you? So you know what to do. But this is the pilgrimage, guys. I have to admit, I made these little lamppost outposts, and I actually thought it would look cooler from further away. It is pretty scuffed. I was going for that kind of like humble scuffed staircase look. I don't know. I'm not that happy at the end of the day. I think it could be better, but you know, it is what it is, and it does the trick here. Just simple access all the way up the mountain. And definitely some Skyrim vibes, guys. Our world looks a bit weird from here, I must admit. Dare I say, not looking that good, but it's pretty nostalgic to get such a view. So much history there. And here we are at the top, just with our one little build. Now, the mountain looks terrible from here. It's a facade. My life is a lie. Avert your eyes. Avert your eyes. So I want to remind people that it's not supposed to be a focal point, but instead, you know, it's background. And it's been 1,700 days here, guys. You can see 1,701 days. And at no point have I had something like this, like terrain, a background. It looks absolutely brilliant for me, in my opinion. I'm thrilled with it. The result. Tell me what you guys think about, you know, the mushroom block. To me, it looks just fantastic. I think if we were trying to simulate, you know, Minecraft itself, we would definitely want some stone in there. And I've thought about that. I can't think of an alternative that will look this kind of clean. So I'm pretty satisfied with it. It's not exactly done. It's a little bit rough, like the water isn't joined up, as well as, you know, a few things. I kind of envision in the future that we could carve something into the mountain or something, but keeping it quite basic for now is such a big job. I would just want to get this done. And of course, Squid completed as well, access to die, and I'm over the moon with this. That is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to join my Discord with the link in the description down below if you guys want access to live announcements of whether I'm posting a video, going live, anything like that, or just generally joining the community. Make sure to give your suggestions as to what we name our epic mountain, and I hope to see you guys next time in another video.